Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and today is August 19th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and I'm doing this a little bit earlier today. You probably noticed it's up a little bit earlier than normal, most likely, and I'm going to move through it pretty quickly. I need to get out of here. My dog has been at the vet all day. For any of you that are dog lovers, well, I've had my dog for about 15 years, and he has been really almost deathly ill the last few days. And so I took him to the vet to have him checked on this morning. And luckily, for his age, he's in pretty good health. But they think he's just got a virus, and they've given him some stuff for it. And I'm going to pick him up, and I've got to pick him up before they close. So that's my rush today. I apologize, but my dog is like family, so I'm going to take care of him. And I'm just happy to hear that he's in pretty good shape. So any of you have dogs, you understand they're like family. So anyway, I'm going to talk about the trades here. It's another range day. We had an FOMC meeting minutes announcement. This is not like a meeting. You notice it's green, so that means it's a medium impact. It's not red like the FOMC. The FOMC rate announcements are the ones you have to really be careful of. However, having said that, it looks like this really, whatever came out in the meetings, there was something that got this thing moving today. We had a pretty good move here. You can see that the price action still played out. If you just measure this first move down, you can see there's the first one, and just look for about a measured move down. And you can see we actually overshot that some, but we jumped up real quick, and you can see it holding all the way across there. And then we ran back up, and this turns out what was the support line turns out to be the median line. And so that gives you, I mean, just like you get your measured moves with your trends and your legs, you can get them with the ranges too. And so it's the same thing here. I've shown this the last few days generally. So it gives you an idea where prices are going. Notice they went a little further, and then they found support there, and prices bounced a few times. You had to be a little careful here. This one was a little concerning. It's pretty consistent across the lows, but it's not consistent off the highs, and the bias would be a little bit down here. So you notice I didn't, I had to see it bounce here a few times before I mark these, and I'll explain them when we get to them. A few greens here early, but you just don't trade this right here, and don't trade this, and just kind of hard to trade some of this. You don't want to go long right into that. So, it really was slow and weak until we got this move here, and it turned out to be a great move. So, but I think it was news driven. So I'm not sure what came out in the FOMC minutes that might have driven this. Somebody must have said something that the market, took negative, at least for a moment. And of course, we've continued to trade on down here into the close. So, of course, this is after 2 o'clock, but just measure this first leg here, and you'd want to look for a measured move off that. And you can see that's down here in this vicinity. You actually probably need to measure from there, which might give you, it's not going to be much different. You can see where that puts you to down here. Pretty close. Again, there's a negative bias, so we actually overshot it a little bit, but you can see we come back up pretty quickly. So it's just a range day, although this was a pretty good move. If you catch this, and there's a nice setup here, if you catch that, that's all you need for the day. And there was actually another pretty good trade right out of the gate here, several points. But let me back out. We'll talk about them. Like I said, I'm going to wrap this up pretty quickly today because I need to get out of here. Just trying to make sure I get it big enough where everybody can see it. But it's real clear here. Somebody asked me, how do you know this is a range? Well, you hear me say this every day after day after day. Once you get into 830 especially, look how flat that EMA. There's two things to look at. The EMA, look how flat it is, and prices are swinging up and down, up and down. The EMA is not pointed up consistently with prices above it or pointed down consistent. This is what a trend looks like. Look how the EMA is pointed down and all the price actions below it. That's a downtrend. When these prices are just swinging up and down and back and forth and the EMA is just sideways like a little roller coaster there, that's a range. And one of the clues is if your overnight highs and lows and prices are still trading within those, especially dead center, once you get after that regular 8:30 regular session open, then that's what a range looks like. So it's not hard to see that, it may not end up as a range day, but at least for here, it's a range. And so look at it like a range. Now, if you get a trend up like this right here, respect this trend until you get here, and then just be open-minded here, because we don't know which one. The trend might win out and it might keep trending, but the range might win out and it may fail. So this is a transition point. Same thing when we trade it back down here. Just stay open-minded. Don't just look to buy it, but don't look to sell either. Just sit here and kind of wait and see what happens. And you can see what happens. It starts finding support at the equal distance, and then suddenly enough bounces and it takes off. So I hope that's clear. I mean, it's just, people say, how do you know? Well, it's just experience when you do this for 20 years. But anyway, I need to get on with the trades here. So we're in a range. You come up here and we test the highs a few times. And 7 o'clock actually comes right down through here. And actually, I think it's right in here somewhere. But anyway, you make this high, and then you make a lower high right here. Just go short right there. Your prices are probably heading down here to the lows. That's what they do. They go from support to resistance to support to resistance. Runs down here. It bounces. There's a second entry long right there. But there's not enough evidence. I mean, this was at 6 and 7 o'clock the night before. So you don't, and we went lower here, so you don't want to trust this yet. Wait on a higher low, and you actually get that higher low right here. Nice signal bar, and notice it's near those previous closes. So that's the first place you really want to go long, when you get that higher low. And then you run up here and we make a double top, and then you make that little failed break higher. So you got a second entry short right there and a double test. You made that high, you test it once, you test it twice. Now that's all within about 15 minutes. So that's a good double test. Then you actually test it again and get another bar here. This bar is really close to being not meeting our criteria. I still think it closes in its lower third. So you can go short there. And that's a lower high off this little range here. And of course it bounces down here a couple more times. This one's pretty tempting, but notice you didn't really get rejection here. Prices make this bar, then make an inside bar, then another one sideways, and then this one sideways before it breaks higher. Just sit tight, and it just keeps going sideways, and then it kind of drops down and creates a little bit of a trap. Again, you usually need to wait on a higher low or something better. I marked this green because there is a quick double test there with a little failed break lower, so it's probably going to trap some people. You can see that it doesn't look like it trapped many at all. At least if it did, there wasn't enough people interested to buy. And just volume there, so it doesn't really act like a trap. So, but I marked it green because most smart traders are probably going to wait for a little more evidence that we're done down here. Even though we're bouncing down here, it still made a lower low than what we previously made. Then we make a higher low here, but you can't go long there. It's congestive. But then it makes a little breakout pullback. But the main reason I like this one is the failed second entry short, and it is off of this trend line right here. And you got to be a little concerned because you're getting back close to the center of the range. And so for that reason, I marked this one green. I'll be honest with you, with a trap, it's probably going to shoot on through. That's why a lot of times that's why they create these traps, to push it through those tough support and resistance places. And we've been down here for a long time, and it finally looks like we're going to bounce. So I probably wouldn't be afraid to take that. We actually make another little breakout pullback long, and again, it's right off the trend line. So you really could mark that one green as well. It's very similar. I'd probably wait on both of these. They're not the greatest setups, but if I'm going to take one, it's going to be this one here. Maybe this one or this one, and that's why I marked them green. And then you're probably going to trap some people right here, and you can tell it finally does act like a trap and shoots up real quick. And then we just start going sideways again. You got to assume this is our target, but I don't see any trade there that's going to make me want to go long right into that. We're just congestive there. Then we shoot up and fail, but now you got to go short into that congestion. Then we just kind of running sideways. Then finally it runs up again, breaks out, fails, makes a lower high. You still got a little room back to the EMA. That's where you'd want to enter. It just continues to work lower, then it bounces. It bounces kind of at the mid-level where it's been bouncing here. Again, I don't think you want to go long up here. You're just looking for a possible short entry, or if a new trend starts up, maybe you go long, but don't go long on this stuff. And then we turn down again, and then you make your lower high. Look how bearish that bar is. Just go short right there. And that's a pretty good move. So you're expecting, you'll probably want to measure that leg and say, hey, we may get a measured leg here. And you can see a lot of people traded that. You can see where they're buying back right there, and then it drops on down. I don't see any more entries in this downtrend, unfortunately, because it's a little oversold down in here. And then it bounces. You get your first break, and you get a second entry short and a lower high right here off a double top. Look at that's a nice bar. I like going short right there because this trend might continue. But at the very least, it'll probably come back down here and test the support. And guess what? Where it bounces, right where the measured move was. Then it bounces again, but no setup here. Then it bounces again. Now you got a good double test with no lower lows and a decent signal bar, so you can go long right there. It actually comes back right here and gives you another chance. And it bounces there again. And there's actually two legs down right here, and there's actually two legs in this leg, so it's a little bit of it's basically you could treat that like a second entry. You can see that first leg, and then there's your second leg. Of course, it doesn't make a measured leg because it can't get through that support. This one's real close to being green. I went ahead and marked it blue, but it's real close to being green because we did make lower highs here, and that's concerning. Because even though you got equal support all the way across here, you're making lower highs just about each time, and that's usually will be an indication you could go lower. But when we made this the reason I like this one is because we made that low. It looked like we were going to bounce, and then I guarantee you when this broke lower, they trapped a bunch of people out and in right there, and then look how it shoots up. So you know they trapped the shorts there. And there's your proof right there. You get instant feedback on these traps. That's what a trap looks like. Look how fast that shot up and how strongly. That's what a trap will do. Just like right here, they trapped a bunch of longs when this shot down right here. But yeah, a good trap will give you instant feedback like that. And that just took us up to the midpoint, which was the previous support, which is now the midline. And we're just working sideways. Just stay out of that stuff. There's nothing there to trade. There is a higher low right here, but 1, 2, 3, 4 bars stacked up. 2 of them don't have a body or a real small body. That's just too congestive. It's probably just because it's kind of at a turning point, but notice it doesn't go far before it's headed lower again. So that's why you don't really want to enter. It worked this time, but next time it may go up to right there and then turn down. So not a lot of trades today, unfortunately. Better than some of the other days we have had. We did get a little movement here in the late afternoon, but there's enough trades here to have a good, make your daily target. But the problem is sometimes you got to be, just to give you an example, like this was the last solid trade that was either red or blue, and this was about, let's just see what time that was. That was at 8:44, basically 8:45. And then you didn't get another trade until almost 11 o'clock. So it takes a disciplined trader to sit there for 2 hours and not take a trade. Of course, there's a couple of green ones in here, but if you're being a conservative trader and waiting on the best trades, the sure things, and not trying to be aggressive with these. That's what the green ones mean. They're aggressive. They fit our criteria, but they're aggressive. So if you're waiting on the ones that meet the criteria, that are good trades, there's no reason to mark them green. And sometimes you got to wait a couple of hours. And then from that one was at 11 o'clock, and you didn't get another trade until 1 o'clock, another 2 hours. And then from there, it was another 30 minutes before that trade. And you can see all of that within 2 hours and then that within 30 minutes. That's just the difference in the volume suddenly picking up. So something they said that came out in the minutes sparked some interest, and it must have been probably mostly negative, so because the market shot straight down. But as always, I point out to you the price action still works. Measure your move, it all still works, even in the news items. Usually they take those news items back pretty quickly. Usually the prices will move back and reset. They didn't do that today. They traded on down. So generally within an hour or so, it's taking it all back. They tried right here, but notice how many times they tried to get through there and couldn't. Eventually, when a market can't go higher, it's going lower. And eventually, like here, when a market can't go lower, it's going to go higher, at least temporarily. So keep that in mind. But I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again tomorrow to wrap up our week. I hope you had a good trading day. Sorry I had to rush through this one today, but I got to get out of here. And we'll come back tomorrow and wrap it up. But I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.